The overarching issue highlighted by Admiral William H. McRaven centers on the critical imbalance in U.S. foreign policy and national security strategy, specifically the underappreciation and underfunding of soft power, diplomacy, foreign aid, and development efforts relative to hard power, which is primarily military strength. Traditionally, discussions of national security often gravitate towards visible manifestations of hard power: aircraft carriers, fighter jets, tanks, and infantry. These are rightly seen as essential for deterrence, defense, and outright combat against adversaries. However, McRaven argues that this focus frequently comes at the expense of other equally vital elements of national power that operate through influence, persuasion, and humanitarian engagement, rather than direct force. The general circumstance he addresses is a prevalent misconception that the work of the State Department, USAID, and the diplomatic corps is somehow less demanding, less effective, and less critical than military operations. McRaven vehemently refutes this, drawing on his extensive experience in conflict zones globally. He emphasizes that public servants in these soft power agencies are as courageous and patriotic as any soldier, often operating in the most dangerous environments, coordinating crucial interventions, ranging from hostage negotiations and counterterrorism intelligence gathering to disaster relief and long-term development. In today's complex global landscape, the challenges facing the U.S. extend far beyond conventional warfare. They include combating extremist ideologies, responding to humanitarian crises, fostering economic stability in fragile states, and building international coalitions to address shared threats like climate change and pandemics. These issues cannot be effectively tackled by military might alone. They require sophisticated diplomatic engagement, targeted development assistance, and the cultivation of goodwill, precisely the domains of soft power. The prevailing circumstance, as articulated by McRaven, is that despite the proven efficacy and cost-effectiveness of these non-military tools, their budgets are disproportionately small, less than 1% of federal spending for USAID and under 0.5% for the State Department. This underinvestment creates significant risks for U.S. national security, making the military's job much harder in the long run. By dismissing highly trained diplomats and dismantling aid programs, the U.S. undermines its ability to prevent conflicts, stabilize regions, and address the root causes of extremism and instability. In essence, the general circumstance is one where the U.S. is not fully leveraging all its national power. McRaven's strong call to action is for a strategic shift, a conscious reinvestment in the State Department and USAID to reinvigorate America's diplomatic and developmental capabilities. This, he contends, is not a sign of weakness, but a hallmark of a confident nation capable of leading with wisdom and ensuring its security and influence on the global stage. The underestimation and underfunding of soft power, diplomacy, foreign aid, and development initiatives in U.S. national security strategy, as highlighted by Admiral William H. McRaven, stems from a confluence of historical, political, and perceptual factors. Understanding these reasons is crucial to appreciating the ongoing challenge of achieving a more balanced and effective foreign policy. Perceptual bias towards tangible strength. One primary reason is a deep-seated perceptual bias that favors visible, tangible displays of strength. Military assets like aircraft carriers, fighter jets, and troops on the ground represent concrete, measurable capabilities. Their impact, whether in deterrence or direct action, often appears immediate and decisive. In contrast, diplomatic negotiations, long-term development projects, or cultural exchange programs yield results that are often incremental, less dramatic, and harder to quantify in the short term. The success of soft power often means preventing something from happening, e.g., a conflict averted, a disease contained, which by its nature is less visible than a military victory or a disaster response. This makes it challenging to garner public and political support, as immediate wins are more appealing. Political expediency and short-term focus. Political cycles also play a significant role. Governments and policymakers often operate on relatively short timelines, driven by electoral cycles and immediate crises. Investing in soft power requires a long-term vision and patience, as its benefits may not materialize for years or even decades. A diplomatic breakthrough or a successful development program might take years of sustained effort, far exceeding a typical political term. This incentivizes a focus on quick, decisive actions that military force can often provide, leading to a preference for hard power solutions. Additionally, military spending often enjoys bipartisan support, especially during times of perceived threat, making it politically easier to justify large defense budgets than equally substantial foreign aid or diplomatic appropriations. Historical precedent and Cold War legacy. The legacy of the Cold War has also contributed to this imbalance. During that era, the primary global competition was framed largely in military and ideological terms, leading to a massive buildup of conventional and nuclear forces. While diplomacy certainly played a role, the emphasis on containing communism often translated into military alliances and proxy conflicts. This historical precedent cemented the idea of military strength as the paramount tool of foreign policy, inadvertently overshadowing the equally vital role of non-military engagement, even after the Cold War ended. Difficulty in measuring efficacy. Another challenge lies in the difficulty of precisely measuring the return on investment for soft power. While military operations have clear metrics, e.g., enemy combatants eliminated, territory secured, the effectiveness of soft power is often assessed through less tangible outcomes like improved relationships, increased stability, or enhanced regional cooperation. These qualitative benefits, though immensely valuable for long-term security, are harder to translate into concrete statistics that resonate with budget makers and the public. This makes it easier for critics to question the efficacy and necessity of soft power spending. Bureaucratic silos and interagency coordination. Finally, internal government structures can create challenges. The U.S. national security apparatus is vast, with distinct bureaucratic cultures within the Department of Defense, State Department, and USAID. Despite calls for interagency coordination, practical challenges often lead to a siloed approach where military solutions are planned and executed separately from diplomatic or development efforts. This can prevent a truly integrated approach where soft and hard power are seamlessly combined, reinforcing the perception that they are distinct rather than complementary tools. In summary, the underestimation of soft power is not merely an oversight, but a deeply embedded issue rooted in how we perceive power, our political timelines, historical precedents, and the practicalities of governance. Addressing this requires a concerted effort to shift mindsets, reprioritize resources, and foster greater integration across all instruments of national power. Underestimating and underfunding soft power, diplomacy, foreign aid, and development initiatives carries significant and far-reaching consequences for U.S. national security and global standing. As highlighted by Admiral William H. McRaven, this imbalance doesn't just make the military's job harder, it creates a more dangerous, unstable, and less predictable world for everyone. Increased reliance on military intervention. One of the most immediate consequences is an over-reliance on military solutions. When diplomatic channels are weak, and development efforts are insufficient to address root causes of instability, like poverty, lack of education, or weak governance, military intervention often becomes the default, or even the only perceived option. This can lead to prolonged conflicts, higher human costs, and significant financial expenditures that could have been mitigated or avoided through earlier, more robust soft power engagement. It also risks drawing the U.S. into situations where military force isn't the most appropriate or effective tool, leading to unintended consequences and a cycle of intervention. Erosion of global influence and trust. Soft power is fundamentally about influence and attraction. When the U.S. reduces its investment in diplomacy and aid, it risks eroding its global influence and trust. Cutting foreign assistance can be perceived as abandoning partners and neglecting humanitarian crises, potentially fostering resentment and creating vacuums that rival powers like China or Russia, or non-state actors like terrorist groups, are quick to fill. Without strong diplomatic relationships, coordinating international responses to shared threats, from climate change to pandemics and nuclear proliferation, becomes significantly more challenging. Allies may question U.S. commitment, and neutral nations may be less inclined to cooperate. Proliferation of instability and extremism. A direct consequence of neglected soft power is the proliferation of instability and extremism. Development aid addresses the underlying conditions that often fuel discontent and radicalization. When communities lack access to basic services, economic opportunities, or effective governance, they become fertile ground for extremist ideologies and recruitment. Cutting aid or weakening diplomatic engagement removes crucial tools that can help build resilient societies, foster good governance, and promote economic growth, thus indirectly contributing to the very instability that military forces are then sent to confront. Economic costs and lost opportunities. While soft power initiatives might seem less cost-effective in the short term compared to immediate military responses, their long-term economic benefits are substantial. Underfunding diplomacy and aid leads to higher economic costs in the long run. Conflicts are incredibly expensive, both in terms of direct military spending and the collateral damage to trade, infrastructure, and regional stability. Preventing a crisis through diplomacy or mitigating its impact through timely aid is almost always more cost-effective than intervening militarily after it escalates. Moreover, weakened diplomatic ties can translate into lost economic opportunities, including trade agreements, investment, and market access, all of which ultimately impact American prosperity, diminished moral authority, and American values. Finally, neglecting soft power diminishes America's moral authority and its ability to project its values globally. The U.S. has historically been a leader in humanitarian response, democracy promotion, and human rights advocacy. When its diplomatic and aid capabilities are curtailed, its voice on these issues weakens, and its ability to inspire others to embrace democratic principles or respect human rights is undermined. This can lead to a world that is less aligned with American values and less receptive to U.S. leadership, ultimately making the world a more volatile and less secure place for everyone. The words of George C. Marshall resonate here. Diplomacy is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of strength, of a confident nation ready to lead with wisdom, not just weapons. Reading aloud. Addressing the underestimation and underfunding of soft power, diplomacy, foreign aid, and development initiatives requires a multifaceted approach involving strategic shifts in policy, increased investment, and a fundamental change in how the U.S. views and communicates its comprehensive national security strategy. Increased strategic investment. The most direct solution is a significant and sustained increase in funding for the State Department and USAID. As Admiral McRaven highlighted, their current budgets are disproportionately small compared to the immense value they bring. This isn't about diverting funds from the military, but rather recognizing that a robust military is more effective when supported by equally robust diplomatic and developmental tools. Increased investment would allow for more personnel, rebuilding and expanding the Foreign Service, attracting top talent, and ensuring adequate staffing for critical posts worldwide. Enhanced programs, scaling up effective development programs in health, education, governance, and economic growth that address root causes of instability. Expanded diplomatic presence, reopening and staffing embassies and consulates in strategically important, often underserved regions. Flexible funding, providing resources that can be quickly deployed to respond to emerging crises, preventing them from escalating into larger security threats. Integrate soft and hard power. A truly effective national security strategy requires seamless integration of soft and hard power. This means moving beyond bureaucratic silos and fostering genuine collaboration between the Department of Defense, the State Department, and USAID. Solutions include joint planning and training, regular exercises and planning sessions that involve all agencies, ensuring a coherent whole-of-government approach to complex challenges. Shared metrics of success, developing frameworks that recognize and value diplomatic and development achievements alongside military objectives. Unified command structures in certain regions or missions, empowering civilian leadership to guide overarching strategies, with military components operating in support. Cross-agency personnel exchanges, allowing personnel to serve in different agencies to build mutual understanding and break down cultural barriers. Reframe the narrative and educate the public. A critical step is to reframe the public narrative around soft power. Policymakers and leaders need to articulate clearly and consistently how diplomacy and aid directly contribute to American security and prosperity. This involves highlighting successes, showcasing compelling examples of how soft power has averted crises, promoted stability, opened markets, and saved lives, often at a fraction of the cost of military intervention. Emphasizing prevention, stressing that investing in diplomacy and development is a proactive, preventative measure that reduces the likelihood of future conflicts. Connecting to domestic interests, explaining how global stability, economic growth abroad, and strong alliances directly benefit American jobs, trade, and safety at home. Leadership advocacy. Senior officials, including military leaders, consistently advocating for the importance of soft power, mirroring Admiral McRaven's powerful testimony. Embrace long-term vision and flexibility. Given the nature of soft power, a shift towards a long-term strategic vision is essential. This means sustained commitment, avoiding erratic changes in funding or policy based on short-term political cycles. Adaptability, designing programs and diplomatic strategies that are flexible and can adapt to evolving global dynamics and local needs. Investing in expertise, prioritizing the development of deep regional and linguistic expertise within the diplomatic corps and aid agencies. By strategically investing in, integrating, and effectively communicating the value of soft power, the U.S. can build a more resilient, influential, and secure foreign policy apparatus. This isn't just about spending more. It's about spending smarter and recognizing that true strength lies in a balanced and comprehensive approach to global engagement.